Can people with kids ever be good friends with people who don't have kids? As a child-free woman, it's something I think about a lot, and turns out I'm not the only one. I want to give a little disclaimer before we go into this video because this is a hot button topic. I want to state, first and foremost, this video is not an attack on anyone who chooses to have kids or anyone who chooses not to have kids. Parents are cool, child-free people are cool. But having kids does change adult friendships, and it's something that I think is well worth talking about. And in fact, I do think that I have a pretty hot take, though I'm willing to bet it's not the one you're thinking of. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider becoming a patron. Our patrons help our small, all-women media team put out content like this and do lots of other things, like have cool workshops, a lot of which are free, put out our Instagram content, put out our threads and TikTok content. So basically, if you like what we're doing on the internet, please consider becoming a patron. We literally could not do this work without our patrons. Okay, simply put, it's easier to make friends when you're a kid. And that's for a couple of reasons. The first of which is proximity. When you're a kid, you go to school every day with the same people. You see them in English class, you see them in math class, you see them at recess. You work on school projects with them, you do after-school activities like soccer or theater with them. You're always around the same general group of people. Second, we have the opportunity to learn things together. So whether that is how calculus works or whether that's how to make the perfect free throw, when you are around people day after day and you're learning something together, that creates opportunities for bonding. Learning something together creates opportunities for what I like to call silly little experiences, right? You miss 5 free throws in a row and then you sink one perfectly, no net, and you're like, oh my God, everyone cheers for you. That is a memory that you've created with those people. And you remember, like, 7th grade basketball team, I became the free throw champion. And thirdly, a major part of making friends as a kid is time flexibility. When you're younger, you tend to have fewer responsibilities and you have more time to do whatever you want with whoever you want. Most kids under 15 are not worried about rent going up or which account they should be using to save for retirement. Young kids are like, hey, you like purple? I like purple. Let's go play on the swings together. And even kids that are more scheduled, and I think a lot of parents today would say that their kids are more scheduled than they were when they were a kid, have more time flexibility. On a Wednesday night, you might not have PTA and 7 hours of extra work that you need to do. And if your friend Julia calls you and says, hey, you want to go to a movie? You can say yes. We lose this spontaneity and we lose this time flexibility as we become adults with way more rigid schedules. So as we become adults, how do we make friends and how do kids play into this? Parenthood is the norm here in the United States. And what I mean by that is it's the social norm. Not that every single person you know has kids, but that the expectation here in the United States, the social norm, is that you will grow up, get married, and have kids. And it's pretty much been that social norm since 1776. Not having kids is a very recent social development. Now, that's not to say that there haven't been child-free people in the history of the world. Of course there have been, but it was not common. And in most places, and especially here in the United States, it was not socially acceptable. Child-free women in particular here in the US were to be pitied or feared. It's really due to the efforts of first wave and second wave feminism that child-free living even became an option. When women were granted legal rights in the early 1900s, such as the right to own land in their own name in 1900 or the right to vote in 1920, this opened the door for women to be seen as legal individuals. That means people outside of their relationship to a man, usually their father or their husband. And when the birth control pill was approved by the FDA in 1960, this really opened the door for women or anyone with a uterus to be able to take control of their reproductive health. If you didn't want to have a child, it became way easier and way safer to no longer have a child. However, parenthood still remained the default in 1900, in 1970, and still today in 2023. Anecdotally, I have a lot of friends, and I have a lot of different friend groups. I have the friends that I went to high school with, my friends from college, my friends from Austin, my friends here in North Carolina, and I am the only one who is child-free by choice. And while millennials are having kids later than previous generations, we are still by far having more kids than we are remaining child-free. In 2019, 55% of millennials were married with at least one child, 12% of millennials were single parents, and more than 19 million millennial women had given birth. Look, let's be real, okay? Just between friends here. Having a kid is the single most impactful thing that you can do on this planet. First of all, you literally created life. And if you're someone with a uterus, you birthed that life. Like you grew it inside you and then it came out of you. And that is truly a miracle and frankly, very mind-blowing to me. And then once it's out, you have to teach that kid the difference between right and wrong. You have to teach it how to tie its shoes and how to kick a soccer ball. And you have to help it become a helpful and productive member of society. I mean, truly, it is an awesome responsibility. And today, becoming a parent is an expensive and often overwhelming experience. Parents are expected to feed their kid all organic homemade meals while using cloth diapers, while reading to them 4 or 5 books every single night, while advocating for their education, while taking them to soccer practice, while maintaining a clean home, while working 40 or more hours a week, while saving for retirement, while saving for their kids' education. On and on and on it goes. An article for Time magazine about millennial parents stated, "The pressure among millennials to be great parents is fierce." In February, parenting site Baby Center released its annual report on modern moms. It surveyed 2,700 U.S. mothers ages 18 to 44 and found that nearly 80% of millennial moms said it's important to be, quote, the perfect mom, compared with about 70% of moms in Generation X. 64% of moms across age groups said they believe parenting is more competitive today than it used to be. And all this perfect parenting comes at a literal cost. In 2017, the USDA estimated that it cost $233,610 to raise one child from birth to age 18. Updated for 2023, LendingTree now estimates that number is $237,482. Being child-free is not the social norm, and that means it comes with no roadmap. For parents, kids often dictate how parents will spend their time. Parents will join PTAs, they will coach soccer. After school, they'll pick up their kids. Their evenings will be spent cooking for their kids, helping with homework, making costumes for the school play, etc., etc. Parents also have other parents as kind of a built-in social network. If your kid, Jimmy, goes to school with Jose for 18 years, you're gonna meet Jose's parents over time. Parenting itself is a bonding activity. For child-free people, we don't have those same structures in place. Making friends and maintaining friendships is totally on us. We don't have the option of our kids being in class with Jose's kids in order to become friends with Jose. And for a lot of child-free people, the way that the world is structured feels almost weirdly hostile to us because it feels like parenthood is prioritized by the system. Parents literally get a child tax credit on their taxes. And in some industries, parents can get workplace benefits that non-parents don't. In August 2020, Salesforce announced parents would get an additional 6 weeks of PTO during the pandemic. That same benefit did not apply to the child-free employees. And this right here, it's this lifestyle difference that can be very difficult to navigate as adults trying to be friends. Parents often feel that their child-free friends don't understand the experiences that they're going through. They don't understand the demands on their time, the challenges to being a parent, and their newfound devotion and interest in the things that their kids do. Child-free people don't understand how their friend who has a 1-year-old has only spent 1 year being a parent and now has no sympathy or empathy for the lifestyle that their child-free friends live, even though only a year ago this was their lifestyle too. Child-free people want parents to understand that just because we don't have kids doesn't mean that we don't have problems, doesn't mean that we don't have challenges, and doesn't mean that we don't want our victories and our moments of wins to be celebrated. I really do think that the show Sex and the City hit the nail on the head with their episode, A Woman's Right to Shoes. I'm not a huge Sex and the City fan, though I obviously have seen all of the episodes. In this episode, Carrie gets invited to a friend's baby shower. It's the couple's 3rd child. Carrie has gotten them a present for every single one of their children. She also got them a present when they got engaged, and she traveled and attended their wedding. I'm sorry, I said that it was a baby shower, but it was actually a child's birthday party. And at the party, Carrie is asked to take off her shoes, and if you know anything about Sex and the City, you know Carrie is obsessed with her shoes. Her shoes go missing. And throughout the episode, there is tension between her and this friend because the friend, the parent, thinks that Carrie is ridiculous for wearing such expensive shoes. They're like $485 to a party, and Carrie expects that friend to replace those shoes because they went missing at her house and she only took them off because of the friend's rule about no shoes in the house. I really recommend you check out this episode, even if you're not a Sex and the City fan, because Carrie discusses this tension with her friend Charlotte about how single and child-free people are expected to pony up, quite literally with their cash and their time, for the life milestones that married people and parents hit. Paying to attend a wedding, paying to attend a bachelorette party, paying for a wedding shower, getting a child's birthday gift every single year, where parents don't reciprocate in the same way because obviously single and child-free people are not having those same experiences. And it's this kind of experiential divide that's really difficult to overcome between child-free people and parents when they're trying to maintain or grow friendships. And it's my opinion that these divides are particularly difficult for women. Women often face what is known as the motherhood penalty at work when they become parents. Research has shown that hiring managers are less likely to hire mothers compared to women who don't have kids. And when employers do make an offer to a mother, they offer her a lower salary than they do other women. Men, by contrast, do not suffer a penalty when they become dads. In fact, there's some evidence of a fatherhood bonus in which their earnings actually increase. And check out this Reddit post I found about a married woman not getting a raise because of her working husband. My wife isn't getting a raise this year because I make good money and the men in the office, quote, need it more. My wife works as a graphic designer in a marketing firm. She's great at her job and has never had anything but glowing reviews from her boss and a subsequent raise. This year, however, she got her review, which was very good, but she was told that even though everyone else was getting a salary increase, she was not. When she asked why, her boss told her, there's only so much in the budget for salary increases, and since your husband is an engineer and makes good money, you don't need it, unlike the men here. I was completely gobsmacked. That's just so effed up. It just makes me so angry. I mean, I am an engineer and I do make good money, but that's not a reason to sell her short. Women also do more home duties, everything from cooking to cleaning to picking up the kids after school. And this is actually true, by the way, whether or not a woman has kids. Women are much more likely to do the vast majority of home duties when they are in a heterosexual partnership. So now we're asking women in particular to be rock stars at work, even though the motherhood penalty and potentially the husband penalty is working against you, even though women have to do the vast majority of cooking and cleaning, even though women do the vast majority of childcare, and now they have to maintain stellar friendships. It's a lot to ask. It is my hot take, my spiciest take, my caliente take, that it is not the fault of parents or child-free people that friendships are hard to maintain after children. It's the world that we live in. First and foremost, we lose opportunities to make and nurture friendships as we age. Some of this is due to personal choice. You get a job in Cincinnati and you choose to move there even though you grew up in Iowa City and all of your community is there. Now you've moved to a new city where you don't know anyone, you're working this new job, and you don't have necessarily the time or space to be pursuing friendships. Additionally, not everyone that you grew up with is going to pursue the same career. So maybe you become a teacher, your bestie becomes an engineer, your high school boyfriend goes and becomes a scuba diver. Now you're not going to be spending as much time together because you're all doing different things. However, some of the challenges that we have at building and nurturing friendships as adults is not due to personal choices. It's due to the world that we live in. For example, we build cities, towns, and neighborhoods primarily for cars, not for people. Take a look at this cartoon where you can see how much space we have ceded to cars. Car culture severely limits how and where we can gather. If you live in a suburb, most suburbs are not walking friendly. It's very difficult to walk to the corner bar where you can meet your friend for a drink after work. You have to drive there. And there may be limited parking, or you may have to pay more for gas. Take a look at this data around what percentage of US cities are parks. Parks are free places where people can gather, exercise, and spend time together. In Chicago, which had a population of 2.6 million in 2022, only 8% of the entire city is park or open space. For LA, the second biggest city in the United States, only 10% of the entire city is parks and open space. So quite literally, it's hard to go to a place where you're not going to get charged money to see people because we have very few of those places, and that's by design. When we're building cities, we're mostly thinking about building spaces for businesses and homes. We're not thinking about building spaces where people can easily and affordably gather. And as adults, we have concerns that are highly personal that we are encouraged not to share about. Take money, for example. We all earn different amounts of money depending on what job you're in, what city you're in, what state you're in. And how we spend that money is also incredibly unique. Some of us have health concerns, some of us have kids, some of us have to take care of family who live in foreign countries. There's no universal way to be an adult, which means there's no universal living standards. And at this exact moment in time, we are dealing with rising cost of living, high inflation, and a housing crisis. We're also up against a political stubbornness to change very little about these problems. For example, as of 2022, despite 2/3 of Americans supporting raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, it has stood at $7.25 an hour since July 2009, when it was last increased. Since then, it has lost 14.8% of its purchasing power to inflation in 2018 dollars, and 28.6% less than it was at its peak in terms of purchasing power in 1968. In fact, had the federal minimum wage kept pace with workers' productivity since 1968, the inflation-adjusted minimum wage would be $24 an hour. These things are largely structural. Like, I cannot choose to change the federal minimum wage and have it change just like that. This is a structural issue. The way that we have built and are continuing to build cities is a structural issue. The way that we work in this country is a structural issue, with the expectation that you will be in office at least 40 hours a week and that something like an hour-long commute is totally normalized. Structural issue. So while yes, obviously kids change parents' lives and they change adult friendships, do I blame kids for becoming a burden on adult friendships? Absolutely not. It's important to consider all of these other things when we ask ourselves the question, why is making friends and why is maintaining friends as an adult so hard? We can't just zoom in on the cute little baby and say, it's your fault. We have to think bigger. Why do I have so little free time? Oh, it's because I spend 30 minutes commuting one way 5 days a week. And so that is an hour a day or 5 hours a week that I am losing that I could be spending nurturing friendships or literally sleeping, doing whatever. I mean, let's be honest. How common is it to have a friend cancel plans and have a wave of relief run over you? It's so common that it is a very popular meme online. So that's my hot take. It was crappy urban design and capitalism all along. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm super curious, especially since I am child-free. If you're a parent, I definitely want to hear from you. And as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. That really goes a long way to helping us, and come back every Monday for new videos.